God damn it! Hey, who's in charge of this crap? Hey, it's you know what we're doing? It's a weird scheduling week, and Colorado's a ways away, so we couldn't do a show on Thursday. We couldn't do a show on Wednesday. So I said, let's do it on Tuesday rather than Friday because we want to get ahead of the curve. It's the what the hell show is this? Five Heart Podcast. That's what it is.
The Restore the Order episode.
It's the Restore the Order episode, you sons of bitches. And I'm joined by Hoss Reuter, who I haven't talked to, and I don't. When was the last time?
I think the last time I was on was right before the Illinois game last year, when Brett Blimpy Bielema came in and beat us.
And we've refused to run any misdirection plays whatsoever.
Yeah, God, that game. I'm used to it as a Husker fan at this point, especially post 2014. But that game in particular, as it was winding down, I was getting ready to actually join some family and friends for one of my sister's birthdays, their birthday party that night. And to a few people that I was watching the game with, I was just kind of like, you know what? Why do I even bother anymore with this team? And people who don't really follow football were like, why? Haven't you known that they were bad? And it's like, here's the thing. I know they're bad. I know it's bad for me to get this upset. But it's like heroin. I just can't help it. Not that I've ever tried heroin, but it's just, it's a rough analogy here.
Okay. We have Colorado coming up.
We got Colorado.
We have Colorado coming up.
Yeah.
Colorado scored 862 points against TCU. And they flung the ball all over the field. 500 yards that guy had, that shittier Sanders.
Yep.
And there's no stopping them. Travis Hunter, two-way player, Heisman Trophy candidate, probably going to win it.
Trophy's already chilling in his crib, John.
It's chilling in his crib. If he'd have caught those two long balls, I'm sure he'd get to blow the doors off in Nebraska. What happened to TCU? Their defense didn't look like they even knew what was going on. They didn't know anything.
No, they didn't. And, they play a 3-3-5 similar to what we play, but Colorado kind of caught them by surprise from the standpoint that TCU coaches didn't know really what to expect with, are they going to run what Sean Lewis ran when he was at Kent State, which was very, it was spread, but it was very power spread, option quarterback run game, or is it going to be more of the modern spread that you see a lot of, mesh concepts and quick game and getting the ball out to your running back out of the backfield. And so it was kind of a sneak attack, an ambush in a way. But then TCU made it worse by never adjusting to it. I mean, Colorado ran mesh probably 843 times against TCU. And at no point did they decide, hey, maybe we slap a matchup zone, pattern match them underneath. So we're not passing off crossing routes and getting caught up on rub routes and the natural picks. And we just, sit back and make a break on the ball.
Okay, I guess Greg's here. He keeps waving at us.
Optimistic. 15-1 is Greg. Okay.
I keep thinking that he's going to add himself to the stream.
You would think he's the skipper of this podcast. You would think he would know what to do.
Oh, no shit.
In my defense, I didn't want to interrupt a really nice thought or conversation. I wanted to feel welcomed. I wanted to be a big shot for a minute and be introduced like a big shot. Damn it!
Oh, here's Greg. He's with us now.
Hailing from Edwardsville, Illinois.
Time out.
He's apparently still optimistic.
Of course, I'm still optimistic, John. 14-1. Anybody can be wrong once, but it takes a hell of a person to be wrong 15 times.
You predicted us to go undefeated when Mark Whipple was calling the plays and Scott Frost was leading the program. So, I got to question a lot of judgment. Mark Whipple, John, you know that I've defended every offensive coordinator Nebraska's ever had. Mark Whipple was indefensible. I could not defend him.
He was operating with a madman.
Yeah.
We should just not. We already said before the show we're not going back. We're not going back, Greg. Except for one thing, one question I'm going to ask you, Hoss.
What?
What made you optimistic about the offense in the loss to Minnesota?
Well, when I went back to rewatch it, I looked at specifically what our core concepts were that Chatterfield called that makes up our identity as an offense. And that came out to outside zone, so trying to get the ball on the perimeter with the stretch play. That was further supplemented by the counter GH play, so the backside guard and the H-back instead of the tackle, the H-back pull, counter GH. We run that with the tailback, so Irvin or Grant, and we also run a quarterback run component off that with Sims, and we do it in a few different ways. Regular counter, a bash read where they flip the responsibilities. And then on top of that, we had another counter play that the Niners love to run under Kyle Shanahan, counter solid. And then that really makes up the bulk of our running game. Outside zone, counter, quarterback running game. Now, when I went back and rewatched it, you had a lot of issues with Nate Berkshire, Luke Lindenmeyer, Thomas Fedoni, and Barrett Liebentritt, the tight end fullbacks and H-backs, that their blocks weren't quite executed as well as they could be. The assignment was right. It was just, it's the little things. Football's a game of inches. Blocking, it's more of a game of inches than anywhere else in football. If they hit the far shoulder instead of the near shoulder and they log a guy who's squeezing the line of scrimmage instead of boxing it, that there were runs that might go for 60-yard runs. And so there are a lot of opportunities that we had to have chunk plays where if those happen, if they are executed the way that they could have been, we're sitting here talking about, maybe 250, 300 yards rushing in the game. We're talking about how good our offense executed. Things are going to get cleaned up. Greg,
what about Jeff Sims throwing just right at the other team?
Well, I don't love our passing game. I'll say that. I don't love the concepts. I don't like the way they cage Sims to the pocket. I think you got to roll him out and let him and his mobility pull coverage apart, and then you can hit a tight end in the flat or on a low crossing route, because a lot of times that Tyler Newman was able just to play center field, sit back, single high.
Oh, okay. I get that.
So you want to be able to pull defenders towards the run out of coverage, opening up seams in the coverage. And I think that's something that we'll probably see against Colorado. I think that this staff does not strike me as a staff that's going to continue to beat their head against a wall. This staff seems like they're astute enough to get things fixed, whether it's, technique-wise or play calls.
Do you think that they kept him in the pocket because their wall blocking wasn't ready?
Wall block? What do you mean?
Well, you know what I mean. How they move. The linemen are supposed to move like a wall.
Yeah.
Probably
slide.
not using the right term. Slide protection. There you go.
I got you. That could be.
In my day, it was a wall. In my day, it was just we had walls. We didn't have
just like
things
a wall
that
cloud.
slid. Yeah, something like that.
I think that could be a part of it. I think a lot of it's finding out how teams are going to choose to defend us. Because, that's your first game. The book is out at that point. Teams, you figure out how teams are going to defend you. Other teams figure out how they're going to defend you based on what teams that run similar schemes to them do. And so, like Colorado, for instance, the whole book's out on them. They went deep into their playbook to score 45 points. So we know how to defend them. But I think our biggest issue on offense is in our passing game is our receivers really struggle to get open. That is probably the most inexperienced receiver room that we've had at Nebraska.
Thank you, Fred, for teaching all of us a new word.
Yeah, don't look that one up, everybody. You're going to be disappointed.
Okay.
Sam Roberts Golf says, I would honestly would rather beat Colorado than Iowa this year. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely abhor Iowa. I corrected your spelling there, Sam. Don't worry about it. It's autocorrect. You got screwed out. It's autocorrect's fault, not yours.
Dang, Fred is mad.
Okay, Greg, you can start talking, or I'll just start talking all the time again.
I was wondering when I'd be able to do anything besides say hello. No, Hoss and I brought.
All right, read the comments. I know that's one of the rules not to.
No, it's fine.
Pepperidge Farm remembers Houston punching the Mizzou fan out. Kellen Houston, hell yeah, horrible game. He's a doctor now.
Kellen Houston is?
Yeah.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Good for him.
Where was I? Oh, so Hoss and I brought back Corn Nation Overreaction. We'll be doing that every weekend from here to eternity because Saturdays are for pain and sadness. As I wore that shirt on when we did that show. My biggest issue, my biggest grievance. I had to think of Festivus and what you're supposed to air, is the play call at the end of the game when Nebraska had the offense. I apologize if this got covered in the 3 minutes that I was trying to log in, but when you have a 10-3 lead and the ball, and there's 7 minutes left, something like that. You're in the fourth quarter.
It was down to about 5:32.
Is that where it was?
Yeah, it was pretty late.
And you decide, well, let's open up the air attack. And again, as I said Saturday, I understand the mentality of if this hits, we're going to put a dagger in with Minnesota. But it didn't hit. And in fact, it backfired in a big way. I was saying, I apologize to Cornhusker Corner. I don't know if they're in the comments yet. I haven't seen them yet. But I was on tape delay. Watching the game Thursday night. So I'm about a half of football behind everybody else. And so I'm tweeting and I'm like, shorten the game, run the damn ball. I was that guy. And they were like, we're very confused because in their mind, the game was already over. Like you have to shorten the game by running that clock. And at least, and Hoss, you and I talked about this Saturday, at least we didn't see Nebraska snapping the ball with 17, 18 seconds left in the play clock. They were running it down, but man, when you throw incomplete, and you don't give the offense Nebraska had been running the ball. Gabe Ervin Jr. specifically had been running the ball very well. Ramir Johnson, a few touches here and there. Anthony Grant had, I think, one run and, of course, one fumble. But that was my biggest thing. And Hoss, you set me on a better path. You pulled me up out of the gutter when you said that all of Nebraska's mistakes, the reason Nebraska lost to Minnesota, they were self-inflicted and they can be fixed.
Absolutely. And we were covering that a little bit before you joined. A lot of it just stems from getting the tight ends, fullbacks, H-backs, the four that we used in the game, Fedoni, Berkacher, Lindenmeyer, and Liebentritt, just cleaning up their blocking. A big part of it is if we're going to run counter so much with the guard pulling and kicking the defender out towards the sideline. Well, if he squeezes down on the down block of the tackle, then at some point he's too far down. You're not going to be able to kick him. So you have to target his shoulder closer to the sideline and seal him back to the inside and let the back bounce around that and go outside. It's no different than the counter trap, counter sweep that Nebraska ran under Tom Osborne. Milt Tenneper writes about in the assembly line, John. I know that you have that book as well. And Greg does not. And,
this is crap. This is crap. I'm on a show right now with the two people in the world that I know who have that book.
Nope.
And I will be neither of you will let me borrow it. I want you to know I take care of other people's things better than I take care of my own.
Borrow my children. I guess they're all adults now. The hell?
Well, because I don't know what to do with Rotten Son, except
make him do math for you
properly. That's fine. Hoss, a few times, and John, I don't know, because you were in the stadium, so I'm curious to know about that experience, especially when Nebraska took the lead and then, unfortunately towards the end when we lost the lead. So I don't know how much you were able to see, and I don't know if you went back and watched the replay, but Hoss, you said a couple times now, Nebraska offensive linemen were polling.
Yes, and they were polling.
I feel like
you could see them polling.
But that has been.
I screamed in the stands.
That has been one of your focuses, one of the things that you were hoping to see all off season long. So, John, did you need to go home and take a bath?
No, but I just screamed. I screamed, they're pulling, something like that. They pulled, And then people were like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And then when we went up to 7-3, I said, onside kick, and all the Husker fans went and kicked my ass.
Too soon, man. Too soon.
You guys aren't amused with that either. I will say that, at the end of the first half, all the Gopher fans were ecstatic with themselves. They were like, that smug, passive, aggressive Minnesotan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're all passive aggressive. They're all nice to your face, and then they try to kill you on the freeway. That's how it is. You just learn this. You have the nicest office people on the planet be next to them on the freeway, and they want you dead. That's all of Minnesota, except for the non-natives. And we know who they are because they're not like that. They actually talk to other people and stuff like that. But at the end of the half, they're all smug. They're like, we're ahead. And then, that Ramir Johnson big kick return. And then the worst executed pass in history. And I was standing so that we could all see it. It was obvious a backward pass to our section because we were right even with the play. And all the Minnesota fans were like, yeah, it's a backward pass to the fumble, get after it. And then he throws it down to the only receiver down there, so he couldn't walk on a different guy. And then he scored, and they all were like, ugh. But it was like, it's just, they were sad, then happy for a moment, and then they were really sad. And then it was really, crowds are wonderful. I love crowds.
Mob psychology.
Yeah.
And not the mafia.
Honestly, I said this in the video I did by the most recent tree video. I actually couldn't believe we held on to the lead as long as we did. Well, because I expected Minnesota's offense to play a lot better than it did, and they did not play well.
They have their issues with the two new co-offensive coordinators since Kurt Shiroka left for Rutgers. Kaliamakis, he is experienced after stepping in for Tanner Morgan, but he was there for 45 years. I mean, a loss like that does factor in at some point. And Ibrahim's now in the NFL, and they lost 3 offensive linemen. They lost John Michael Schmitz, who's now with the New York Giants. But I have no doubt that they will get it figured out because they have a lot of nice pieces. And Minnesota, in my opinion, is my pick to win the West. I think that they're going to win the West. Yes. I think that they will win the West.
Did you watch a lot of football this weekend?
That's pretty much all I did.
Everybody looked like shit.
Yeah, everybody did.
There were a lot of crappy looking teams.
I think we're at another point in college football, a lot like the early 2000s, where you're starting to see the effects of parity and the transfer portal really take effect, where everybody's got dudes. Everybody has really good coaching and good scheme. I know what I just said about everyone's got really good coaching. There's some that are better than others, but by and large, for the most part, everybody knows what they're doing. But Ohio State looked like crap as they're implementing Brian Hartline's offense as the new play caller. Wisconsin, it looked like they had a little bit of an interesting experience until they got rolling late. Illinois had to have a last-second field goal to beat Toledo. Purdue losing to Fresno State doesn't shock me, actually. Iowa still can't hit 25.5. It's a beautiful thing. I actually want them to. I want them to keep Brian Ferentz forever. And Northwestern, I mean, do we really even need to talk about Northwestern football?
No.
Oh,
except to make fun. They opened up as a 1.5-point underdog at home to UTEP. So I feel like that needs to be addressed.
But to answer, like Dion says in the comments and Fred says as well, we actually did physically dominate Minnesota. When I went back and looked at I don't want to say the tape because I'm just watching a DVR on YouTube TV. It's not like I got the film reel going. When I went back and looked at it, there were a lot of plays made by the defense that looked like plays that you'd see BYU make under Bronco Mendenhall, who's a Rocky Long disciple. Tony White's a Rocky Long guy from, time at San Diego State. And that defense is going to suit us very well in the Big Ten and in the Big Ten West. Offensive line sustained some blocks. Other than that, like, the technique didn't look awful. It's just an attitude thing, like finish blocks. Like, don't try to catch a linebacker running through. Go block up to the second level. That's actually a big point I wanted to talk about, in terms of Grant's fumble. If you go back, I wish I would have told you to cut the video in advance, Greg, but there's a Barankowski for Minnesota, number 6. He runs through a down block against I think it was Burkitcher or Evans Jenkins, the backup center who was in at tight end in our heavy set. And he pops Grant, and that collision at the line of scrimmage, honestly, is what caused the bad ball security. And I mean, somebody clubs it out still, but that impact kind of caused him to have the ball way out here instead of, 5 points of contact. On Gabe Irvin's long 27-yard run, Turner Corcoran doesn't climb up the linebacker. He tries to catch the linebacker instead of going and blocking him. Same linebacker. He runs through, hits Irvin at the line of scrimmage. Irvin's strong enough and powerful enough to shake it off and still go for 27 yards. So that's an area where we've got to get that cleaned up because we're going to see a lot better linebackers as the season goes on. But other than that, I didn't think the offensive line played terribly in the run game. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible. I mean, this isn't last year or the year before's offensive line in terms of ineptitude.
Fred said here a few minutes ago, talking about the physicality, said we did seem to wear them down, which was quizzical because it's not like we beat up on them, which I think you address a lot, but it also just, again, frustrates me all the more that we didn't, when we had the lead in the fourth quarter late in the game, while we didn't just keep leaning on them with the run game and pushing them back 3, 4, 5 yards per carry, per down, and just shortening the game because it was right there. And I think that it not in the way that I apologize to all you Chatterfields. This game wasn't lost on an onside kick. This wasn't lost on punting to the wrong side of the field.
Antonio Reed hitting a receiver late on 3rd and 25 when you're getting off. I'm still sore about that one 5 years later.
This game was so winnable. It was right there. And
we exerted game control for stretches of the game.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. If we execute better on offense, I think we're probably sitting here at a 24-3 win. And that I'm not saying that, full of Kool-Aid right on the heels of watching us lose. I'm saying that with taking a few days, watching the game again, taking some notes over it, better understanding what we're going to do offensively from a schematic standpoint. And then moving forward from there, it's fixable. I mean, I don't think that we're going to see the same issues continue to rear their heads. And if they do with some of the personnel, I think we'll probably see personnel changes. I don't feel like this staff is going to be the kind of staff that continually rolls with a guy past the point of looking like he can't get it done.
A lot of great questions here. And John, you and I are starring the same ones. Let me knock out a few of these real quick here. Clay says the line took blame for the fumble for not finishing the blocks. He calls that honorable. It's probably
a little bit of a stretch, but I like where they're at from a leadership standpoint because, Barankowski's run through did that initial contact through Grant off. He still picks up more yards, but the ball security isn't there like it's supposed to be. And for a guy that's had problems fumbling all through fall camp, I mean, that's, you got to think that he's going to revert back to his baseline training when the bullets are flying, so to speak.
Do you think just the leadership aspect of the O-line, do you think that also shows maybe more personal accountability than we've seen here in the last few years?
For sure. There's so much. When you think back to some of the linemen we had through the Riley era and into Frost, whether it's, guys that didn't want to put in the work in strength and conditioning, guys that didn't want to learn the playbook, guys that didn't want to, make sure their nutrition was dialed in or listen to the play call or, anything that was a common problem, or guys that just didn't fully buy into the culture. It's nice to see this leadership, from the unit that, it's a little bit hyperbole, I guess, but they're the tip of the spear. They're leading the way. I guess that leads into what we've talked about with Ben Scott. We were going to talk about over the, we mentioned last week, we were going to talk about this week. And for the very first time in a very long time, I have no complaints about the center position at Nebraska. He played a very solid football game.
He's making the line calls, right?
Making the line calls, great physicality. He, every assignment was the correct one based on, line calls and blocking schemes are pretty universal across football, based on different fronts. There's not too many things that are proprietary to individual teams except for a few tweaks here and there. And he looked like he knew what he was doing, like he had been in the program for a long time. So we've got ourselves a good center, and that is going to be a big thing to have moving forward this year. Because even though, Cameron Jurgens, for as great of an athlete as he is, and he made some great plays his last year at Nebraska in 21, he wasn't the kind of center that you'd go, okay, we need 1 yard on 4th and inches. He can handle the nose guard by himself. And so, yeah, it's good to have him. You really hope Prohaska can suit up. I know Clay said, our best O-lineman should suit up this week. Again, Teddy's a guy that more than held his own against Aiden Hutchinson as a true freshman in 2021. And so you hope that he's back, and ready to play. And I would keep an eye on that left guard spot, though. I think that Ethan Piper can still develop into a really good player. I think he's athletic enough. I think that we should probably start, using him in the run game similar to the way that we used Noli.
Hasn't Ethan Piper also been here for like 30 years?
Yeah, I think he's getting a doctorate at this point. Yeah. Get paid for, my man.
Good for him. Keep going to school as long as somebody else is going to pay for it, right? Let's jump ahead. Look, we're going to have some things to talk about as we bounce back between Minnesota and Colorado. But Red Wine, 3 quick hits from Red Wine 65 here. The first one is hopefully we can run on CU a lot more than pass. I think that is definitely the goal, is to pass less, run more. Following that up with and wrap the ball up. Yep, let's do that as well. And Red Wine said, I'd like to see a lot of successful blitzes also.
If you guys are on Twitter, go and follow Match Quarters. Cody Alexander, who has been a very successful Texas high school football coach. He breaks down defensive schemes across college football and pro football. You will see a few of the blitzes that Nebraska ran, some games that they played in the AA gap blitz games to get the center turned one way, and then reading that reaction to free up a blitzer. Well worth your time. And he has a lot of really good books on Amazon as well. The Guide to the 4-2-5, Hybrids, Cautious Aggression, all good stuff if you want to learn more about defensive football.
Back-to-back ones from Fred here. One is a legitimate question, and the other one I'm going to have some fun with. But Fred says, other than Cam Jurgens, who was the last good center we've had? Drawing a blank.
Dave Remington.
Michael Decker would have been really good had he not quit football. That was a shame when he decided to hang it up.
What year was that?
2017, 2018.
Okay.
And then for whatever reason, Jackson, the converted defensive tackle who played center in 12, he was actually decent. But if you're going to look back, like for the last dyed-in-the-wool center that we had, honestly, you probably have to go back to Jacob Hickman or Kurt Mann for decent centers.
The other one from Fred, I'm going to have some fun with Ethan Piper's Pit, where he interviews people and misses pass blocks and also hits them with culturally inappropriate foreign objects.
Oh, man. Fred, you're on. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. I love you.
Fred's a regular.
All right. Fred, I haven't been around in a while, so you have to forgive me.
Is this your first live? show, Hoss?
No, we did some last year.
Okay.
Where most of it was talking about coaches. And John, I remember specifically I mentioned Matt Rhule's name in early October, and you said, no, he looks like an Ewok.
He's wearing smocks again. What the hell?
Short sleeve quarters, it man. It's a shacket.
Here we go.
The shacket.
Okay, Clay with a little tongue-in-cheek. Another good read for Husker fans is how battered housewives still love their husbands. That's what being a Husker fan has been like. That one hits close to, well, no pun intended. That one is felt.
I don't know. I married a Nebraska girl, and I can guarantee you she could kick the shit out of me any day of the week. So,
but it's
okay.
What?
It's wounded dog syndrome. It's literally, we're all terrified. There's a lot of us that are terrified to go into this game against Colorado because all we can think about is the worst things possible happening.
No, you just got to go in there and restore the order.
Restore the order. When was that used?
2005, Nebraska, Colorado.
Was it? Okay.
Remember the Restore the Order shirts?
Yes, I do.
Wasn't there? Maybe a friend of the show, Josh, can answer. Was there a Restore the Order sledgehammer, or am I thinking of a different school?
Honestly, that kind of sounds like that might have been something that Bill Cali, the sledgehammer, the shirts, and putting up the buffalo head in the locker room in the week leading up to that game. All right, I'm going to, since we're talking about Colorado and a lot of people are
Colorado.
A lot of people, I'm not saying just necessarily in the comments, but just in general, we can't do anything. We're not going to be able to beat them. I'm going to say this for people that maybe weren't. Did we talk about it in the first 3 minutes, or was it just before we started the show, John, where you're talking about Colorado TCU?
We talked about it before the show.
All right.
John, we talked about mesh routes and how they didn't adjust before the show. I don't think we brought that up since.
Perfect. Couple comments I want to touch on before we dive into that. John Schmidt, Nebraska is going to beat the Buffalo so bad this weekend you'll think it's the 1870s. Man. Must be a fan of Buffalo Bill Cody, man. You know what? If we win on Saturday, I'm going to drink some Coors Banquet and listen to James McMurtry's song "No More Buffalo" on repeat. Fred, Billy C, when he ran a slip screen to Pork Chop and we beat a very average shit CU team, and Billy C acted like he beat the 85 Bears. Yeah, I got to agree with Billy C. That was one of my all-time favorite Husker wins. 30-3, man. But to Josh's point, TCU's tackling was terrible. TCU is not a good football team. They were in 2022. They are not this year. They lost Garrett Riley to Clemson. Max Duggan's no longer there. Quentin Johnson's gone. They returned one starter in their defensive front. And for whatever reason, they made the national championship game last year with the 91st ranked scoring defense in America. They still probably are going to have the 91st ranked scoring defense in America this year because they refused to adjust to what Colorado was doing. Their coverage shells and their defensive fronts looked completely mismatched. They left slot receivers open. Their linebackers didn't know how to pass off running backs in coverage. And honestly, if TCU would have committed to running the football, they were averaging 7.1 yards per carry. To borrow a phrase from Nick Saban, they were running through Colorado like shit through a tin horn. TCU wins this game, and all we're talking about is Colorado put on a good showing for themselves. We played a superior opponent last Thursday than what Colorado played in Fort Worth, Texas. Minnesota would beat TCU. And
you think so?
I think so. TCU is not who they were last year. Sonny Dykes, people want to talk about coaches, are kind of who they thought they were, Scott Frost, for instance, is going to lose a game in the fourth quarter, Sonny Dykes, his teams historically have always been great offense, no defense. That's why it was, so shocking last year where he makes a run to the national championship game. Because I'm thinking, it's the same Sonny Dykes that got his ass ran out of town at Cal Berkeley because they couldn't stop anybody, And so TCU is not a good football team. And yet they should have won the game. They probably should have won that game by about 17 to 21 points. So
turnovers.
Colorado, props, it's what they did is not easy to do. They blended a team of 86 new players together, and they went and, they didn't get intimidated psychologically by the prospect of playing TCU. They went in there and they played their game. They are very talented. There's nothing to take away, Shedeur Sanders or, Dylan Edwards, Jimmy Horn, or Travis Hunter. They're great players, but let's not act like TCU's the 85 Bears either.
So speed on Colorado. You mentioned all the players that have speed, except Sanders, and he's a quarterback, so he doesn't need that much. He just needs to be
slippery. Mobile enough, though.
Can Nebraska's defensive backs keep up with all these guys?
I would have liked to have seen Minnesota take some more deep shots in the game, not complete them, obviously, but take them to kind of get a good idea of what we do coverage-wise. But we were able to really limit them to the underneath passing game, and then we were able to get pressure with our front seven, including a few coverage sacks, with the coverage held up on the back end. But all in all, I think that our linebackers are going to be able to defend that short passing game that Colorado really made their hay on. People want to talk about the bombs that like Travis Hunter dropped, or some of the deep throws to Jimmy Horn, but where they really made their hay was those short passes like on super mesh to Dylan Edwards. Well, if your linebackers know how to pass those guys off, you shouldn't have a problem. It's like it's the banjo call, okay, he goes this way, if you're lined up with multiple receivers as a defender, if he goes in, the defender to my inside takes him. If his defender goes out, I take him instead of running into each other and trying to, cover everybody man to man.
And you're plus, so sexy when you talk like this.
Oh, it's the football acumen. It gets all the ladies. Yeah.
I mean, we talk enough. I know that's not true.
But no, Colorado not overly impressed with their running game. And granted, they didn't really have to really get after it in the run game department. But what I think is probably how they're going to attack Nebraska is I think they're going to probably test out how we defend those short passes. And I think they're probably going to try to stay away from the run game as much as possible because they're still pretty light up front. I don't think they're – I mean, our defensive line played at as high of a level on Thursday night as we've seen in a long time. I mean, I said it to Greg on Thursday or last Friday. Ty Robinson was playing at an All-American level. In the change of football that we saw, that was what playing at an All-American level looks like.
Now, if I'm understanding correctly, whereas some teams use the run to open up the pass or vice versa, you're thinking that it's going to be maybe 80% pass from Colorado, but a lot of it may be using the short to intermediate and seeing if they can work in some home run shots throughout the game.
If they're able to run the football on us, though, and I'm just saying this, I don't think this will happen, but I'm just saying this, for the sake of, posterity and clarity. If they're able to run the football, we're fucked. With their offensive playmakers, if they're able to run the football, it means that we have something systemically wrong if we're getting pushed around by their defensive line. Conversely, on defense, Colorado's defense did not register a single sack or tackle for loss on Chandler Morris. So
they were only one of two out of 130 teams this past weekend that didn't register a tackle for loss.
That's like something that Eric Chenander or Bob Diaco would accomplish. Oh, we missed it. I didn't say it when I said at the beginning. TCU's defense looked like it was coordinated by the love child of Bob Diaco and Eric Chenander. Eric Diaco. I don't know.
I want to throw this up there for you, Hoss. I think you'll appreciate it. Fred says that Ty Robinson reminds him of Terry Connealy light.
Yes, I had to think that was a little bit. I was 4 when we won that national championship. I had to think back to watching, replays. Obviously, I'm not sitting at 4 years old breaking it down, going nice spike from the 3 technique there.
We talked a little bit about this, John. I popped in last night to Monday Night Therapy. I don't know how much you and Todd got into this. Bonehead decision by Ty Robinson to lower the helmet, draw the penalty and the ejection, because he will have to sit out the first half of Saturday's game against Colorado. But up to that point, he was – think of like him and the polar bear up front is – I was watching, the benefit of DVR, right? You have the ability to watch the play and then go back and watch the play. And so seeing the ability to get a little bit of pressure, and I like bringing extra guys. I think it threw off Kaliak Manis a little, from time to time, threw off some of his timing, got a little pressure on him there late as Minnesota had to get away from their game plan and try to throw the ball a little bit more. But, dialing up some different looks, I feel like the defense is poised to do something that nobody's nationally, and quite honestly, a lot of people in Husker Nation are not anticipating this weekend, and that's to Nebraska to go in and unseat the, I don't even know if you can call it the big bad giant, but go in and take out, take some of the wind out of the stadium there in Boulder.
Go score on the first play of the game, like we have in Boulder so many times.
Yeah. Okay, Hoss, what are you going to do with Shadir Sanders? I mean, if you blitz him, all you got is a mobile quarterback.
Honestly, I don't think we're going to have to blitz. I think we will be able to get pressure with 3 or 4. I think that probably the best route to go is get pressure with 4, play some form of, pattern match zone underneath, or you just trust your guys to make good calls and pass defenders off in man and not run into each other and run, cover 2 man under. There's different ways that you could do it. A lot of times you're just going to want to really make sure that you know what you're doing with Edwards trying to come out of the backfield, because they will hit Edwards on a variety of routes.
Right.
What do you have, 5 for 135? I think it was. I mean,
I don't know. He had that screenplay they had was beautiful.
Yep. It was some insane stat line for the very first, game that a kid's playing in his college career. So I think that you have to pick your spots where you bring pressure. You can't just do it endlessly. If it's a 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 5 where you're kind of expecting maybe a run, you're kind of in that gray territory of what a team does on 3rd down, maybe blitz there. But I don't want to be getting to 3rd and 11 and then Northwestern hazing.
Look at the comments, for God's sake.
This is going to be one just for you watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, you're going to want to fast forward about 45 minutes in. Wait,
4408.
4408. Thank you. But go to YouTube and check it. Sure. I'm not going to read it. This is just for the visual audience here. Well done, Fred.
Take a bow, sir.
We have a lot of great comments in here. I want to try to touch them all. Fred, stop. Please don't make a Scott Frost reference to co-eds, because I know that's what you're thinking. But Fred does ask a serious question, and he even prefaces by saying, serious question to Hoss. Correctable offensive stuff. How long before we quit being the Meatloaf Huskers, meaning 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
I think we'll see a big improvement on Saturday. I think that we'll run for at least 220 against Colorado.
Will it be enough?
If 220, you're still in that gray area where you could run for 220 and you could still lose in a game.
Right.
If you wanted to ask me what number would I be willing to, what number of rushing yards would it take for me to guarantee a win, 280, 300.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see more. So Josh said this early. Says I'm late to the party. Thought the show was going to be Friday. So good to see you, Hoss. I think at one point, Hoss, weren't you kicking around the idea of an X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's type of whiteboard show?
Yeah, that or doing some writing again. I know Jon, probably is like, oh God, we can't get rid of this guy at coordination.
Yeah, it really is. You're horrible. When are you going to start writing the X and O's, break down the offense stuff? What the hell?
After the Colorado game.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I think we're going to be able to run the football against Colorado. A big thing that I'm concerned with, being able to run it in the red zone and convert in short yard situations, because I think everybody saw Travis Hunter's interception against Colorado where to the boundary, he plays the crossing route on his side and carries the receiver inside, then backs off of it and picks off the running back rail route. I really don't want to be in a situation where Jeff Sims' throwing ability is called into question against Travis Hunter, mainly because of the fact that our receivers will also struggle to get open. And I don't really care for our passing game selection in those yardage situations in the red zone. So I'd rather keep the ball on the ground and not put it in potentially put it in Travis Hunter's hands. I've become what I once despised. So I will say that I'm going to be wearing a run the damn ball shirt on Saturday.
And you're supposed to send one to me if I remember correctly.
bbbprinting.com.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah. See,
that's not sending it to me. That's
I
making
posted
me go.
it. I posted run the fucking ball on Twitter last week.
I have a run the damn ball shirt, and it just feels right to break it out for this game.
Yeah.
Because if we run the football and we execute at a level like cleaning up what we missed on Thursday, 250 to 300 yards and controlling the game is well within reason.
By the way, Josh is here with a correction. I said X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's. He says it would have been called whiteboards and black shirts with Professor Offense.
When I was signing up for SB Nation again, the screen name Dr. Offense was taken.
Oh, there's no justice.
I was like, who?
Let's see some more of these. All right, a few more questions that kind of go back to last Thursday's game. 005 S. Miller says, why not use the fullback in the last 5 minutes of the game for an extra blocker?
Well, we did. H-back, fullback. It's just a matter where they line up.
Okay.
But no, I like the heavy
the problem. The problem with using a fullback is you're just pulling another defender inside. I don't think people realize this. This is about math. If you pull another guy inside as a fullback, the defense pulls another guy inside too. So, you can't just say, "Whoa, use the fullback," and everything's okay.
I like that heavy set that we showed with Jenkins as the extra tight end, then Berkacher, and then Lindenmeyer or Fedoni. And having that surface, at that point you're creating, let's see, a 5-man surface to the right of the center. That's extra gaps that it creates. And so that's extra gaps that you're spreading the defense out along the line of scrimmage. Inside gaps are opening up. So if you're running power, inside zone, or duo, cutback lanes with the back reading his aiming point and then seeing an opening, cutting the other direction is going to be more likely than following a fullback, which following a battering ram fullback is always a really good idea. But
just don't look that way.
It could take you right to the play. That's what I feel like a newscaster trying to do a live shot.
Wade Farr admits that he's late and asks if we can start over. No.
Brad, wouldn't that be what KU's former head coach Mark Mangino was doing?
All right, let's see here.
Wow.
James Marshall says the 3-3-5 defense may not be a good idea for the Big Ten, but can see it really helping against Colorado. Your thoughts on the 3-3-5, Hoss? or John. I mean, like, it's cool when Hoss is here because he's smarter than me, and
Easy. I do a lot of knuckle dragging, dumb things in my life.
That's fair.
I think it's made for the Big Ten. One of my things that I think, one of my favorite things about the 3-3-5 that I noticed other teams in the NFL when they were doing it, and Rhule also mentioned that he did this at Carolina. At Carolina, they kind of became more of a 5-down defensive front, meaning, they played their outside linebackers right on the line of scrimmage to go from 3 to 5, and it functioned more like a 5-1-5 defense. And the New England Patriots have had a lot of success with that, probably from, I'd say, 2014 to about 2018, 2019. And that's a scheme that in the Big Ten, that covers up a lot of gaps on a pre-snap basis. So you're not just having Iowa mow you down at the point of attack, like you're watching, I don't know, what's a good movie with a tidal wave, Day After Tomorrow. We'll go with that, tidal wave roll through. So yeah, I like the 3-3-5. I think that it's going to take some time for us to really see what that defense is truly capable of until we get a top flight pass rusher, a la like a Randy Gregory. Or I won't say Lawrence Taylor, but we all know Lawrence Taylors don't grow on trees.
Right. I think the thing is the Big Ten, we always talk about the Big Ten, and there's a lot of people that still have this 3 yards in a cloud of dust thing stuck in their head.
Wide open. We got air raid coordinators at Wisconsin, and Illinois, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Purdue now. Who knows what direction Northwestern moves in this next year? Randy Gregory's
they're just.
John, can you read this one?
Daniel Scott says, is Shadur the best Colorado quarterback since Cordell Stewart?
All I want to do, I sent it to you specifically because of the way all night long you've been pronouncing Sanders' first name. And Shittier Sanders. So Shittier. But no, you had to do it the right way.
Cordell Stewart had that deer in the headlights look every time he played Nebraska. So I was hoping somebody would think of this comparison.
Be careful, John. You're going to want to pronounce his name the right way, because if you don't pronounce it the right way, I bet Deion Sanders probably will call you out in a post-game interview. He'll keep the receipts.
He does like his receipts.
He'll keep that. He said, we're coming to your house with the receipts.
Yep.
Make you pronounce the names right.
I just want to say this, I'm going to channel my inner Denny Green here. It's one game, and everybody's ready to crown their ass. It's like they're good. I'm not trying to take away anything from what they accomplished, but this is still a team that went 1-11 last year. It's a total changeover with different players. I like the staff that they have. I think Sean Lewis is a great offensive mind. Charles Kelly had success at Florida State as the defensive coordinator. But at the end of the day, it's one game, and the reactionary nature of college football proves time and again that it's too volatile, because one game, you pull off an upset, the next game, you get your ass kicked. I was trying to find a more eloquent way.
Look at the media. Look at the media right now. You had one guy out there saying that Deion Sanders in Colorado might be the greatest sports story in history. Somebody actually said that. Was it David Ubben? Is our buddy
David Ubben. I forgot about that name.
Ubben. See, there's another thing. Rubbin. He used to cover the Big 12 and be like a Texas fanboy, and now he's Colorado fanboy. So it's kind of interesting. No, hey, Lock 'em Up is here. I assume it's a she, but I don't know. We keeping them receipts, baby. Fan. We got you. Colorado fan. Monday night we had a lot of Colorado fans, and I welcome them. Come on in.
Hell yeah! I was at Folsom back
it's college football.
Dead and Company. Great. Honestly, probably the prettiest campus in America. So, got a lot to be proud of.
Let's change the topic for that.
I do want to point out James Marshall. It's a program that went 1-11 last year. They're clearly a totally overhauled organization. There's a lot of truth in that sentiment, James. 1-11 last year, just like TCU made the national championship game last year. But at some point, group dynamics comes into play, and I just don't know if that leadership is long-term and if it can, last through adversity when that strikes. Let's just put it that way.
That's a very nice way of saying that. You're very diplomatic.
Yeah. I mean, like,
are you on the right show?
Hey, you know what? I extend the olive branch at times.
All right.
We're not that good at the smack talk.
What,
I'm just too much of an X's and O's nerd.
All right, let me.
I was like, yeah, well, your team likes to run inside zone on 3rd and 3.
If you, in my younger days, I talked a lot of shit. But here's the thing: if you call your opponent like the worst football team in the country, be it the results of last week or any week or not, and you win, congratulations, you beat what you've been deemed, considering the worst football team in the country. But if you lose to what the team then you've been calling the worst football team in the country, then how does that make you look? Don't get me wrong. I like the shit talk.
Fred.
Yeah. All right. So comments. We have a lot of comments. We're going to move on. Let's see. James Boardman said earlier, being scared of Colorado shows how weak some of our fan base has become.
Agreed.
They've been beat up a lot.
We've been through
it's been
a rough.
Let's be graceful to them. I already beat them up in one of my videos. So
Jackie Atterbury says 25 years of losing. We should be scared of losing to anyone. I don't know about scared. I mean, we should be used to it.
I don't know what?
Yeah, scared is
either you guys listen to the Joel Klatt podcast?
No.
It's a damn good one. I enjoy
Joel Klatt. Yeah. Joel Klatt, the former quarterback, wasn't he an announcer?
Yeah, for the Buffs.
Yeah.
But
he
had a point about in coaching in general. Treat winners like losers and losers like winners. Winners need to get back to the grind. Always need to get back to the grindstone. Losers need a little bit of confidence. Well, unfortunately, our program, we as a fan base, we are the latter rather than the former. And so we just need a little bit of confidence. We need to get out of our slump. We need a slump buster.
We need to play Colorado and beat their ass. That's what we need.
We need to win on Saturday.
Win on Saturday.
Yep.
Let's see. More comments here. John, you watch the live comments so that I can pick up some of these starred ones. Cornhusker Corner, we talked about you earlier. Sorry for throwing you off last Thursday with my tape delay tweeting. Says, my bad, I'm late. Let's go beat those Buffs. One game does not tell the whole story. We'll find out who they really are. I'm suspicious that our trenches are way better than theirs.
Oh, yeah. Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank. Another one who was late, but that's okay. Better late than ever. I feel like I just set Fred up for something. Brando's Sports World said, just joining. Glad to see a wild Hoss making an appearance. Hope all is well. Guys, we are going to beat Colorado. Our secondary looked good, predicting 3 interceptions on Saturday morning.
I like the 3 interceptions. I'll have 3 Coors Banquets by Saturday morning, too.
I feel like you're making a mistake by supporting a Colorado brewery.
It's always been my beer, man.
I know. We talked. Now, you were drinking Coors Banquets on Friday night when we did our show. I was drinking these Yinglings. It's America's oldest brewery. I want to say that if you or someone you know owns a Nebraska brewery, I'd be more than happy to drink your beer right here on the 5 Heart Show. So send me some. Reach out via the social media channels, and I'll be more than happy to get you my address if you're allowed to ship beer across state lines. I don't know how it works anymore.
I think it's not 1931. Okay, Volstead Act's dead and gone.
Yeah, and you know what? You don't have to jump into Trans Am to get some Coors Banquet from Texarkana to take it back to Atlanta. Because you're able to sell, I don't know why anybody want to, but you're able to buy Coors Banquet on the east side of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Damn good beer. Nectar of the Gods. Had it on tap first time in my life when I was out there for that Dead show.
I'm so sorry. Clay says, is it sad to think Zach Lee would have won that game last week?
No, Zach Lee was a good quarterback before he got hurt. He was
a good quarterback. What about Tanner Lee?
Okay, you know what? People always are saying he's a workout warrior. He threw all those interceptions. Once he settled into that offense in 2017, he was throwing the football at a very high level. Threw for 400 yards twice in the last, 6 games, 2017. That offensive scheme did not give him the support that it needed. I mean, when you're basically running a 90s pro style offense in 2017 college football, you're not going to have much, success when you're not using a spread running game. So if we would have been operating out of a pro style spread, he would have thrown for a shit ton of yards and probably eliminated the mistakes. And but hell, what do I know? Dude's not in the NFL anymore. Like, I've been wrong before. It's just my opinion.
Clay also asks who on offense steps up. I'm saying find a way to keep Ramir on the field all day. If not running back, then running back.
I think Irvin. I think Clay probably becomes a load for Colorado to tackle late in the game. I mean, wouldn't mind seeing Irvin run over Travis Hunter.
What about Thomas Fidone?
Fidone's blocking needs a lot of work. So right. I think that he would probably be better off. We'd be better off as an offense to use him like they use Travis Kelce in the NFL. Now, before I go any further, I'm not saying Thomas Fidone is Travis Kelce. But NFL teams, they like to use really athletic tight ends as the F receiver in their offense, the big F. And so using him in that way, more as a big slot receiver, much like how Utah used Dalton Kincaid, who's now with the Buffalo Bills, that's probably what we need to do to get him on the field. Because I think if you're going to ask him to be an H-back or an inline tight end, I just don't think that his blocking is at a level that, we can reliably use him at that spot right now. So find a way to get him on the field. It's probably going to be out of necessity at this point because our receiver room continues to get even thinner with now the loss of Isaiah Garcia-Castaneda. I mean, you hope that Jalen Lloyd and Malachi Coleman can grow up in a hurry. I think Alex Bullock is actually a pretty good player. I think that he's going to develop into a good one.
Heinrich Harburg,
I think that, you need to find a way to get him on the field as much as possible.
Why can't we run packages like I've been saying for 15 years? Nobody loves me.
Like how Florida used Tebow as a true freshman, situationally. Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. I think Nebraska wins the national championship in 2010 if they use if Zach Lee's the starter, speaking of Zach Lee, and if Taylor Martinez is the situational run game quarterback. Yeah. I'll die on that hill.
No, nobody does this there that much.
Would we have won Brando's Sports World? This is actually a really good point. Would we have won that game against Minnesota
with Casey?
With Thompson. Casey Thompson at quarterback. We don't have the burners at receiver anymore, but he's a gamer. I don't think he would have thrown 3 blatant INTs. I was reading the updated comment.
Oh, sorry.
10-04. Yeah. Honestly, my opinion, I think we're dead in the water with Casey at quarterback against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Sims's running ability opened up a lot of the offense because that first drive before he ripped off that long run, it was just looking like Minnesota was going to be able to play us exactly how they wanted us to, stack the line of scrimmage, stack the box, sit in 2 high safeties, don't let anything get behind them. And him being the runner that he is, that extra blocker, extra gap that it creates, I think that I think Sims is our best shot to win on Saturday still, or last Thursday still. Casey, I think it would have looked a lot like the Illinois game last year, where we were just dead in the water. As far as Cornhusker Corner saying about from 10:05, hell, we would have won that game on Thursday with Adrian. Your brother said that on.
I got you. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yep. No, I was going to say I highlighted the wrong one. We would have won that game on Thursday with Adrian Martinez. My brother said that the other day on our show. That's right. Let's not forget. I don't know if you know this out there, you in the audience. There's more than one Husker podcast.
I only recognize one.
We're biased.
No, Husker Corner. I'm gonna check you guys out.
But
I don't want to skip ahead. I want to answer this question.
Which one?
The one that Husker Corner had. I want to answer that question truthfully and not sarcastically because
this one.
Yeah, or no. The Adrian Martinez.
God darn it!
Yeah, come on, Greg. Come on.
I can't read your mind. We're off. Our chemistry is off. I'm sorry.
Let's look a little professional here, okay?
Oh,
Jesus. Yeah, Adrian. Like I'm conflicted on this one because again, the plays that dude made all the time, are well noted, but at the same time, God, his ability to drop the ball on the carpet or throw a pick at the worst time was just uncanny.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like it's almost the same thing you get with Jeff Sims in that regard.
And Brando Sports Rule says, I see your point, Hoss. They had to take account of Sims' dual threat ability. In other words, we need to hope Sims gets it all together mentally. He's going to have to make passes more consistently soon.
I think if we decide just to stick to our identity on offense that we discovered works, outside zone, counter, quarterback run game, I think that if we decide to use Sims on rollouts, bootlegs, play action built off of those plays, I think that he'll be a lot more successful. You can't expect him just to sit in the pocket and make plays in the passing game against, Minnesota running a single high safety and man under with receivers that struggle to get open. I mean, I don't want to bag on anybody, too much, but that might have been one of the more disappointing games from Nebraska receivers that I've seen in a long time.
There was no separation whatsoever.
There's no separation.
You could see that in the stands. I mean, they're like, what the hell?
It looked like watching, like a big time, Class A high school playing against a smaller class high school. I mean, there's nothing there. We lack some height in the receiving room, especially like Billy Kemp's great in terms of, lateral quickness, short area quickness. But, there were times that, Sims overthrew him. He's just not tall enough, And so a lot of opportunities to figure out where we want to go in the passing game. I'd like
you can always use
Ramir. Because like Ramir comes out of the backfield on 3rd and 14 and catches kind of a little Marshall Falk option route. And it was very well designed. Just get the ball out to him, let him make a play. And I know, what was his name? I'm going to butcher it, and I apologize. Asawar?
Is this the one you want highlighted?
Yeah. Asawar Sajid.
Thank you, John. Janiran. I'm going to go with Janiran. Oh, Black Betty, Janiran. Janiran Bonner has to be the starter on offense. I think we use the fullback as a package. What I like about Bonner is he kind of reminds me of Kyle Juszczyk from the San Francisco 49ers. Fullback, yes, but he's athletic enough to play all sorts of positions and run routes out of the backfield or from the line of scrimmage. So I am in full agreement here. I think that would probably open up the offense a little bit more than playing Liebentritt at fullback.
You can always use those receivers to run guys off if they're not going to get open, you just, run the defensive backs up the field, and there you go.
The one thing that I thought about today is Dion wanted Malachi Coleman pretty badly.
Yeah.
Let's get him developed, that kind of talent developed, and show the rest of college football why Dion wanted him.
Speaking of
Justin, though I still think the best play is to have Malachi lift weights and eat his way into being a top flight pass rusher. But I put more of an importance on having great pass rushers than great receivers.
Justin asked about, do we play Coleman now that IGC is out?
Oh, yeah. I think him and Jalen would. Yeah. Really wish Xavier Betts could have stuck it out.
Yeah.
And, it crossed my mind, I mean, I don't want to relitigate the whole thing with, Mickey Joseph last November on, whatever day that was. But maybe if, that was true that he was going to be retained as receivers coach, maybe Trey Palmer is still on this roster.
Well, think about this.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a Husker fan. I'm well-versed in what ifs. I'm a Husker fan born in 1990, so of course I am.
And not only Xavier Betts, but there's a chance that Alante Brown might not be in the condition that he's in if he were still in Lincoln.
That was hard to believe that Mel Tucker put him out there. Remember we clowned on Mel Tucker on this podcast his first year at Colorado?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Mel Tucker's a real.
There was a comment in here. I got to scroll back up and find it real quick. Fred says Black Betty reference from Hoss, so he's not all X's and O's.
Nope.
Lots of
Betty Janaran. I'm willing to bet that if he makes a play, if Janaran Bonner makes a big play, I bet Gus Johnson pulls out the Black Betty.
Minnie asks, and now she did correct herself by mentioning Robinson, but who will replace Robinson in the first half? Is that going to be more of a Gunnarsson?
No, because Gunnarsson, well, I'm trying to think of how we kind of align in our base package, because you had Hutmacher at the nose. He plays the zero technique. Gunnarsson on one side, then Ty on the other. Honestly, probably Cameron Lenhart.
Yeah.
And let me tell you that he's going to be a dude. He's going to be a really good player. And I'm going to say this. I think Nick Henrich might have got Wally pipped. John Bullock played a great game at linebacker.
You and your references, my God.
Hey, man. It's a podcast, ain't it?
Okay. Can I select a couple?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Laura's yours, John.
I'm going to hang out.
James Marshall, the upcoming game is the biggest regular season non-conference Nebraska game that I can remember.
It's not the one I would have gone with, but okay.
I would say,
yeah, whatever.
I agree with James. That in 2019 Colorado.
I think the Deion Sanders hype is just so, oh my God.
I'd really like to see us force Travis Hunter to come up and make tackles on our running backs and see if he decides to shy away from contact, just like his head coach did. How about that for receiver?
But I think on Monday night, we posted a tweet from a guy who was a TV guy, I think, and covered TCU. And he pointed out that Deion Sanders during the game had 56 references to Sonny Dykes' 10. And there are so many references to Deion Sanders and so many, just overall, I mean, it's everywhere.
You know what? We need to get it done on Saturday. It'd be a great opportunity to, I'm not going to say it's like Bo Pelini's Nebraska's back and we're here to stay, but it'd be great publicity for the program.
Owen Walker, John, remember how I said the 2001 CU game was when we started our fall from grades? Too many people have said that. Can this game be the start of our rise with a win?
Oh, it'd be poetic. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme, Owen. Mark Twain said that one, John. You were old enough to know him.
I missed that.
Yeah, well, he never said that to me. He always kept his best lines for his fucking writing, son of a bitch.
I'm going to jump in here. Asawar asked, do you think our secondary depth and experience could match up to the wide receivers that Colorado has?
Yeah, I think so. I think Omar Brown is a big-bodied corner. I think Hartzog, he got a really tough education last week on what a wily veteran can do at receiver, and I think that'll probably serve him well in the long run. From the safety spot, I really like Deshaun Singleton. I think that kind of length at safety is good for covering receivers like Horn or Travis Hunter. It'll be a good matchup. It'll be a really good matchup.
Bigger at Homestead asks, who was more impressive on defense? Was it Deshaun Singleton or Omar Brown? And since you just mentioned Singleton, I figure it's a good time to pull this one from the starred comments.
I have not seen a Nebraska DB make a break on a ball quite like Brown did on that interception to snuff out a scoring opportunity for Minnesota. I think Omar Brown and it's not to take away anything from Deshaun Singleton. He played a great game, but Omar Brown was very impressive.
All right, I'll find another one. I thought John was going to step in here.
No, I'm sorry. I had to take care of a quick question.
I want to point Caleb Ward.
Caleb Ward.
Yeah.
I'm on it. Is it the
Iowa?
I hate Iowa. Yep.
Yeah, I know I trash Iowa all the time, but God, do I hate Colorado. When we lost to them in 2018, I was at that game in Lincoln when Adrian Martinez looked like the second coming of Robert Griffin III. And directly after that game, I had Iowa fans that I know texting me, talking shit. And that was when I realized that as a Husker fan, hell is painted black and gold.
No shit, it is.
Yeah. I hate both of them. I mean, like Iowa's a whole nother level just because of being in Omaha and, familiarity and proximity breed contempt. But when I think about the shit talking that Colorado fans engage in, it's just like, yep, I remember why I despise you guys.
Minnie, I've got your most recent comment start here, but Clay says that Omar resembled Prince Amukamara to him.
I can see that.
Shades of the Prince who just retired, if I remember correctly.
Builds.
He did.
Retired a Giant. And then Minnie says that Dion's interview with Undisputed, he said his team gets 2% better every day, and at least he's good at math. Thank you, Minnie. Come back.
By the way, I will be talking to Big Red Homestead this Thursday. So,
which is another reason why we're doing the show on Tuesday. That and Hoss, where are you going to be on Thursday?
I am going to be in Kansas City watching the Chiefs hoist a banner and beat the Detroit Lions, which I'm actually very nervous about that game. Can I say this? Speaking of my Chiefs fandom, and Husker fandom, I've been a Chiefs fan since 2003. And so I saw some lean years, and the Super Bowls are great. Still, though, I always tell people the same thing about being a Husker fan and a Chiefs fan. I would trade those 2 Super Bowls away for just one Nebraska Big Ten West championship. Just one. And I'm not even saying conference, just a division. The emotion, my love of Husker football is always going to outpace my love for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm gonna hop in here real quick. Friday night says, "Where is Todd?" Todd. Todd does the Monday night show with me. We're gonna have different shows, and actually Saturday. Here's what's gonna happen Saturday. I'll do a post game reaction video. Connor at Corncrase is gonna go live from Colorado, 15 minutes after the game, and do a live show for an hour. And then after that, Brian Anderson, who's a new guy at Corn Nation, and I are gonna do a live show for a while, and we're just going to see how that goes. And you guys can anybody you guys can join us. Greg Hoss can join us. Anybody from Corn Nation can join us during the live show. Anybody that's a Corn Nation staff person, not people in the comments section. Sorry.
So let me ask you this, John. Let's have this production meeting right out in front of everybody.
Okay.
Are you going to be calling your show the Corn Nation Overreaction and using the artwork and graphic and the introduction that I tirelessly and meticulously put together, rather than spending time with my family that I built all this for you?
No, we're not going to call it that.
Good. Then we'll do our own damn show.
I think one of the radio stations stole that from us after we started that originally.
I'm not surprised.
Big Red Overreaction?
Yeah.
No, that thing's been around since like 2012.
No. Ours is Corn Nation Overreaction.
Yeah.
So that thing's been around for a long time.
You're supposed to agree with me, Hoss. That's how this goes.
I'm an Omaha guy. Let's do a lot of 1620.
I think Dion and Fred are both on the same path.
Sorry.
Fred and I'm going to paraphrase Fred and Dion. I'm going to highlight it, but basically they're saying that Todd's over on his OnlyFans, his Only Husker Fans account, making the ladies happy.
Oh my God.
All right. More starred comments. Let's go back and then we'll go forward and we'll kind of do this all over the place. Josh, if you're still with us, I don't know, you've been quiet. I wonder how much of Grant's fumble issues are him trying to get his running style changed from dancing where there should be a hole to getting north and south faster. He's just thinking out loud. I mean, the particular fumble
contact.
Say that again, Hoss. I'm sorry.
I think a lot of it comes from that contact, that linebacker run through right at the line of scrimmage. You know, it took a hell of a hit. He kept going, great physicality to stay on his feet. But, you know, that threw him off where instead of having the ball, you know, against his chest, 5 points of contact, elbow, chest, shoulder, wrist, hands, it's way out here. And so at that point, I think he just reverted back to his baseline.
By God, that's what we'll call Saturday's live show.
What's that?
5 points of contact.
5 points of contact. There you go.
Don't be gimmick infringement on my number 5 here.
That's coordination from John's bathroom on losses.
Josh is here. He says coordination from John's bathroom on losses. I don't know what if we win. We haven't seen enough of those. That's fair. All right, some more star comments here. I'm trying to scan them real quick, make sure that we're all done with looking backwards. Blaine says, hello, Blaine. Gents, do you see any major notable changes to the lineup for our next game?
If we do, we're not going to know them because the depth chart that was released is the same one that came out at the beginning of the season.
I could see us maybe going with Janaran Bonner, that fullback. Other than that, I don't have any gripes against any of our defensive personnel, so don't really see anything there.
All right.
I think that, they're just going to have to play receivers and see who plays.
Chuba Purdy's supposed to be one of the most athletic guys on the team. Throw him out there.
Let's see here. Blaine Cole did ask if you haven't already covered it, how do you rate the coaching from top to bottom against Minnesota? I probably should have left out the words top to bottom. I know what Fred's going to do. But let's talk about, again, we know my biggest – I think
he just went away.
Milwaukee, Greg.
I did nothing to him, just so everybody knows that.
Should I just take over on this one?
Yeah.
All right. If you haven't already covered it, how do you rate the coaching top to bottom against Minnesota? Aside from some of the drives where Chatterfield decided to throw the ball 3 straight times, or we tried to go for the knockout shot to Tommy Hill that was overthrown, and I didn't like the concept that was called on the interception in the end zone, trying to hit, I think it was Isaiah Garcia Castaneda on a corner route when Nate Berkshire was open on a snag route. I would say it's solid 7 out of 10, top to bottom. Special teams was great. Even on drives where the offense didn't score and we had to punt, we flipped field position. That was huge to get out from the shadow of your own end zone like we did on the first drive and get out to, the 35, then punt it instead of, getting your ass owned in the field position game. Seems like Nebraska's done that every year since 2012.
Okay, since I'm old, I get what Blaine Cole is doing here. Janaran. Janaran. Please kick their ass.
That's Barbara Ann, Beach Boys. I know.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
While you're at that, one above is Caleb Ward, who says Marcus Washington will get more catches, and I predict Billy Kemp is a factor on Saturday.
I'd like to see how Billy Kemp could be a factor. I'm not disagreeing with you, Caleb, so that was just worded poorly on my part. I'd like to see how Satterfield would use him from the slot position, because that game plan on Saturday was so much like, let's just get the ball, to the playmakers in the running game. And Clay, no loss, should get a passing grade. They played really well, all things considered. 4 turnovers is too many. The penalties need to be cleaned up, but that was still an effort that could have won the game. We took Minnesota out of what they wanted to do. We made them one-dimensional, and for 55 minutes, we got it done. So there's a lot to build on.
Interesting one that I've not heard anybody talk about. I know, so I hate black and gold at the collegiate level, but I am a Steelers fan.
Oh, that's right. You shit ass.
And I know going back a few years when he was a safety alongside Troy Polamalu, Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark had a disorder that affected him. He couldn't play at high altitude. But Wade Farr asks, will the altitude affect Nebraska?
Well, if it does, they're not conditioned.
If it didn't affect Zach Duvall's Soviet periodization and powerlifting team when we took him out there in 2019, I don't think it'll affect it this
time. Thank you, Brando Sports World. Appreciate that.
Not
Minnie. Minnie asks, what do you think about T. Hill playing both offense and defense?
I'd like to see him make some plays. Right now, it's just, from a standpoint of we need bodies. Anyone will do out there. But he had a step on that DB. It's just we needed to get the ball there. And I think, to be fair to Jeff Sims, I think the defender kind of had Hill screened just right on, trying to place that pass. But no, very athletic. I think he could be big in the kick return game too.
All right, so I want to address this real quick because I did double check. Fred says, "What is the disability not play at altitude?" It was sickle cell, I believe, and
oxygen in the red blood cells.
And going back, this is an article from earlier in the year. It's on Outsider.com. But Clark revealed that he almost died during a Steelers game in Denver in 2007.
Wow!
Because of it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not making it up. All right, let's knock out some more of these. I think I've addressed all the tagged comments that we're looking back. MK wants to know, everyone always says teams make the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2. Where do you think Colorado may improve?
That's a really good point because, we always talk about that. You always hear about that in college football or pro football, the big jump from week 1 to week 2. And, I think to an extent, it kind of bit Scott Frost in the ass with the and I know Fred will have a comment on that one, about Akron being canceled before playing Colorado in 2018. But I also think there's something to be said about CU's performance in week 1 really kind of setting them up for a inevitable letdown in week 2, and I'm not saying like they're going to take Nebraska. They're not going to take Nebraska lightly, but, the book is out on how to defend them. They used a lot of their playbook in beating TCU, as well as can you recover from that much of an emotional high in 1 week to go play a team that, yes, it's your rival, but do you get too much into reading your press clippings? And I hate that expression, but it's the best way to say, or that, okay, you don't get too self-congratulatory, stuff like that.
Blue Diamond Gem kind of piggybacks.
I don't know if it could, I don't know what else they could do to make a big jump from week 1 to week 2.
They had some stupid penalties.
Other than just really coming out and dominating Nebraska.
Yeah.
If they did that, that'd be like, okay, they're I'm not saying like we're so great they got to prove they're legit, against us, but if they put 2 of those in a row for a team that went 1-11 last year, that's another big jump from week 1 to week 2.
And Blue Diamond Gem commented earlier, this can be a trap game for Colorado. I can see them lose against Nebraska, especially if Nebraska will actually game plan appropriately for once.
RTDB.
Is there anything wrong with running the same dive play 60 times?
Not if you're imposing your will upon them and snatching their souls.
Do it until they stop it.
Yep.
James says that Colorado is more physical than he expected. The speed didn't surprise anyone, but he was expecting some Pee Wee Hermans up front.
I don't think they got challenged.
No, TCU's defense is one of the worst I've seen.
It was just they didn't know what they were doing, and then because they didn't know what they're doing, they didn't do anything. It was weird. That whole game was kind of weird.
Brando Sports World, that offensive coordinator Sean Lewis is a badass, though, man. He is a great coach. Love his schemes. I think they have more. They definitely could use Wandale Robinson, Light, Dylan Edwards even more in the run game. I would not be shocked if you start to see a lot of the counters and bash concepts that Lewis ran at Kent State Also, Sean Lewis is a fellow Squat-tober alumni along with yours truly. So, I got to give Sean Lewis a tip of the hat there.
That was quite
the
devotional.
Yep. Hey, anyone who does Squat-tober, we're simpatico.
Owen Walker says Colorado with 82 new players, Nebraska with 62, the most in the Big Ten. New coaches, new players. We still looked good. I don't disagree. I mean, the one thing I think that, and I've talked about this before, but for those of you who relate, really impressed upon me upon watching the game and upon visiting with Hoss about it the night after is it's a winnable game. Those mistakes those are internal mistakes. There's not a whole lot of external factors that went against them that, you can not stare at the defender before you throw the pass. You can, get the 5 points of contact. You cannot have some of those procedural penalties. I think the only real external factor, and I don't know if it got mentioned in the first 3 minutes, was like, I don't know, maybe the official throws a flag on a false start that leads to a touchdown, which we didn't really get into at all.
Minnesota was illegally aligned on their first big completion of the game. So they didn't have 7 men on the line of scrimmage. Deep square in route to, I think it was that. I think it was Crooms or maybe Spanford. But yeah, they had 2 tight ends off the line of scrimmage. They had a slot receiver and then off the line, and then their X receiver was on. So they only had 6 men, and the refs didn't catch it.
It was the first game for them too.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's why we need to have full-time refs in this sport. Too much money's at stake. Like Chip Kelly said, weird game. Only had 4 drives in the first half. Hope you guys are selling a lot of commercials, though.
Oh my God. Have you seen what's happened to the drives and stuff?
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. You're like if it's late November in Memorial Stadium, it's Nebraska, Iowa, and the weather is absolute dog shit. I mean, you're looking at one team might have 5 possessions for the entire game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous because the games are still taking just as long because they backfilled it with commercials. And it's like, I don't want to see the Heisman House commercials anymore. I don't want to hear the Burger King Whopper, Triple Whopper song. I mean, like, that makes me go into a baleful rage at that point.
Being at the game, it was like being in an NFL game.
Yep. Stop.
Except the NFL, you're just like, they're so used to that. Oh, it's a punt. Now the TV guy walks on the field. Oh, look, they're lining up. Now the TV guy is on the field. It got to be a running joke in the first quarter with my son and his friend, me pointing out the TV guy on the field. It was just like, are we going to play football? Or are we just going to, what the hell? Yep. I think Minnesota Stadium did a good job with the music, but after a while, you're kind of like, could we just get the fucking TV guy?
Did you have the tater tot hot dish at the concession stand?
I don't normally eat concessions.
When I was there in 21, I told one of my buddies, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go grab a grain belt at the concession stand. And somebody was like, a Minnesota fan sarcastically was like, you should get the tater tot hot dish. I didn't know that that's what a casserole is called up there in the Great White.
Right.
And I just look at my buddy and go, what the fuck is a hot dish? So we're off to a great start with the Minnesota fans.
Here we go. Sam Roberts Golf says that part of me thinks this loss to Minnesota might have been one of the best things that could have happened to us if we were able to bounce back energetically.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either. I think that there's a great opportunity to fix some shit and be ready to roll into Boulder and be ready to go. All
right. Now is the time where I've got a few more questions or there are comments here that are starred that I'm going to pull up. John, be monitoring the live comments because start telling us, leave your score prediction for Nebraska, Colorado in the comments. We will get to them. But while we're doing that, Owen Walker says, let's keep it simple on Saturday. Let Irvin carry 20 carries and hold Colorado at bay on defense, and I'll feel good about the W. Folsom Field. Sorry, Hoss.
I was just going to say Justin's comment is a good one.
I may or may not get to that. I don't know. Sam Roberts Golf says Folsom Field's about to be sunburned red because our red burns brighter.
Hell yeah, brother.
Let's see. Buffsker 21 says, CU and Husker fan bases should enjoy the game together without drama.
The key word there is should.
Hey, I had a great time out in Boulder in 2019. Like, I had no issues with the Colorado fans. My buddy almost pulled Lawrence Phillips and tried to scale the balcony to get to a CU undergrad that was talking shit from a dorm room. And so that would not have been good, but yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's a good one from Sam Roberts Golf. After what we have seen, what do you think our ceiling is?
Absolute ceiling 8-4.
I just want 6-6 and get to a bowl game.
Go to a bowl game.
Yeah, okay. Just it's okay.
Brando Sports World says Nebraska's first top 25 win this Saturday since
Oregon 2016.
That's a long time.
Yep.
That's a long time ago. Hoss, or not Hoss, John, you were like 100 back then.
Yeah.
I completed an entire undergraduate degree and an entire master's.
Yeah.
Since then. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Why'd you have to put it like that?
No, dude, you know what's even worse? Last year when I was in Iowa City and we finally won, I realized I went to a year of community college, did an undergrad, and completed a master's program in the time it took us to finally beat Iowa.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It's not a prediction, but it is an interesting question from Justin. Would you guys be open to one preseason game in college to help diminish the week ones and help finalize some depth charts?
Absolutely.
If we'd stop opening against the fucking Big Ten, that's what college football would be. I mean, pretty much that's what everybody did.
I would absolutely be in favor of it. And I'd take it a little step further. And I think you could almost, if you cut down on a little bit of the practice time in fall camp, you could probably do 3 preseason games and you could structure it like the NFL where you have, first couple of games where it's just guys, developmentally trying to get better. Then that third preseason game, you have your starters in a little bit more. I think that, they're taking a lot of hits already and a lot of wear and tear doing the full-on scrimmages on Saturdays in fall camp through August. I don't think it would be all that much different.
Sorry.
Was I supposed to star the
No, I'm doing it. I'm
Good
doing
job,
it, John.
Greg. Good job.
I'm wearing many hats here. Oh, local.
No.
Which one?
We'll get there.
Oh, we'll get to them. Don't look at the comments.
Wade Farr says, who makes up Nebraska schedule? Outside of the Big Ten conference.
The athletic directors and then the TV people and the conference, the people in charge of the conference all get together and they say that Fox says that one of you guys has to start playing games so they can make their money. And we want a week 0, week 1 matchup with a name and another school. And, Nebraska, here's the thing. We haven't been good at football, but one thing we're good at is still bringing shit tons of viewership. So we still are a brand. We're one of the biggest brands in the Big Ten, and that matters to them. And that's why we get stuck in these situations.
I like it personally, having games like this to open the year. You know exactly where you're at.
Well, that's true.
You know what you have to work on. It's not, hey, we just beat Southern Miss by 30 points and we're going to UCLA next week and we're going to own their ass, and then we get embarrassed and,
Next year, all of this changes. Because next year, when you look at the Big Ten, we're not going to sit down and say, like, Ohio State is going 10-2. These scores, these records for people are going to be much more like the NFL.
Yep.
9-3 teams are going to be making the playoffs. And it's something we're going to have to adjust to, is what we think success means and how we look at records and stuff like that. Because between the Big Ten and the SEC, the records are going to be a lot more brutal. Okay, go on.
Josh says, by the way, my first Husker game was 03 when we lost to Southern Miss.
You started this shit then. Son of a bitch, Josh.
Josh, go back to wherever.
Sam Roberts Golf says, how about instead of preseason games against other real teams, you put together all the best players in the state and high school and have them play them, because the high school kids would get killed?
Yeah.
You know what the problem with the preseason games in college football would be is everybody would still take them as seriously as a regular game.
Yeah, we're playing.
Yeah, we'd all shit ourselves.
Kansas or I don't know,
Yeah.
South Dakota State in preseason. I'm sitting there, I'm bitching about, hey, we didn't convert 3rd and 3.
This is why we don't do this in spring.
Yeah.
Because coaches want to coach in spring. They don't want to play fucking football. They want to coach.
All right, so let's get to some of our predictions, guys. Hope you have yours ready to go.
Would that be me?
Well, your guys, right? I mean, you and
okay,
Hoss. Okay. But I'm going to go through the Chatterfields first, and then the honorary Chatterfields who come in, who sneak across the border from Colorado. We'll get to all of them.
It means colored red. That's what it actually means in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we're allowed to say.
I never thought of that.
It means colored
red. Stop it.
I thought that was Rojas.
Colorado.
Whatever. Okay, moving on. Soldier of the USA says losing to Bus is going to be horrible. That's why it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
If it happens, it will be horrible.
John, you're killing me.
What?
I feel like you're just out to be a doom and gloomer, and we can't have that.
Oh my God, it's an hour 41 into this, man. I was like, the old man's kind of starting to fall over here.
Yeah, well,
tired too.
And you have to do the article too, so
you fucking young people. What article?
For the website. Anyway, all right. On to John. Look at the live ones. Let me know if I miss any. To the predictions. Tom says Nebraska 31-21. Love watching from Omaha. We love that you're here.
Omaha guy.
Caleb Ward says, don't know who wins, but Colorado won't score 30 points. I think that's not the point. You're supposed to predict a winner, predict a score. So,
Caleb, you've participated all night. Give us a score, man.
Josh is going with consistency, says 35-17 Red. I pick the same score every game. It's got to be right sooner or later. That tends to be how it works. Here we go. Cornhusker Corner says 17-3 Nebraska. Expect the unexpected. That would be unexpected.
That would be unexpected.
Especially after what they did to TCU last week. Because everybody nationally is expecting Colorado to replicate that success. So
if we held them to 3 points, we are the 85 Bears.
Yeah. Dion Pryor says 31-17 Nebraska.
Love it, Dion.
Fred says 28-24 Nebraska. Rhule throws Dion's foot to the crowd, screams bigger and is above the law like Kingpin, and we run off under a hail of batteries and piss.
Colorado Kool-Aid.
It's not the Rhule-Aid. Let's find out. Make sure that John's not asleep at the wheel here. All right. We got more Baron von Raschke references in the comments. That's always fun. Clay says, in honor of Todd, 35-21, although he really says Nebraska 21-20. Brando's Sports World says Nebraska 28, Colorado 27. Finally, my Tristan Alvano walk-off kick comes to fruition. F dem Buffs and go big red. 3 interceptions, boys. Love the energy. Justin says Nebraska 28, Colorado 24. Wade says Nebraska 23, Buffs 17.
Like it.
Nebraska 005 S. Miller says Nebraska 31, CU 28. Doing one last sweep for any new ones. God, John's sleeping again. Caleb says 30-27, so he did follow up with a score. Thank you, Caleb, for doing the homework. Mark says 35-10 Nebraska. And there's always that one outlier, right?
Yeah.
And that is Kirk Go Buffs. Says 31-6 Buffs.
Okay.
I just want to let that simmer for a minute. I'm just going to put that up there.
All right, Kirk. You know what, Kirk? If it's 31-6 Nebraska, I really hope that you're able to go on like a nice hike over the Flatirons, to get over the loss because, that is a really nice place that you live in. But I don't like it this Saturday.
Sam Roberts did follow through. Says, until proven otherwise, I struggle to trust the offense. Nonetheless, I'm confident that we have a top 15 defense, so we should be Colorado 24-20.
I like that score a lot, actually.
Blaine Cole says if Nebraska does not go 14-1, will I'm guessing will I shave my head? Wouldn't be the first time.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the hat was doing. I feel like it's just trying to keep the cool air off.
Yeah, no shit.
Are you shaving your head to be the next model for Bullet Man?
Yeah, really. Yeah. Perfectly shaped head for that.
Blaine, to answer your question, I have done it in the past. Probably not now. I apologize. If you feel let down by that, find me on Twitter at @5 Heart Podcast. We can discuss ways of compensation for the disappointment, but probably not. Wade Farr says, my grandson. Wait, I didn't know you were old enough to be a grandpa. Matthew Farr goes to Johnson Brock School and says Nebraska 25-22. So there's a shout out to Matthew and everybody there at Johnson Brock School. Hopefully they're all good little big red lunatics. And living in Omaha, David Matney says 24-20 Nebraska. Cornhusker Corner says, Greg, if you want, I'll rewatch the recording of this podcast and live tweet just to confuse everyone. That'd be fine.
Josh, if we win, Greg has to drink a banquet. I love it.
I will do that. I'll get a tall boy because I don't want to, have 5 sitting around the house for a year and a half on end. And here's the thing, Hoss, I'll make this deal with you. If you ever come to the house, I'll buy the banquet and we'll drink it out back together. But I'm just not going to have it sitting in my house without any love. Charlie Huntsman says 41-30, like that score from Alex Henry and Sioux interception. I was on the sideline in dress blues that year for the Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots. Well, God bless you and thank you for your service. Such a badass game, the best game I've ever been to.
I was at that game as well. Great game.
And let's see, this is not a prediction, but Caleb does say, I cry maybe once a year, but if we lose to Colorado, I'll drown in tears. That's worth keeping up there. I'll tell you what, here's everybody's talking about shaving heads. Let's do this.
John,
if we go
my head for
no, if we go better than average, above average, if we go beyond 6-6, John, will you at least get a damn haircut?
I can get a haircut.
All right, there you have it. That's got to be better than.
I'll tell you what, if we go better than 6-6, I will get some of my hair cut off. We'll send it to Hoss and he can use it as a wig.
John, I'll hold you to it.
Oh my God.
You might have to diet a little bit first, though.
Ryan T says 35-31 Nebraska, watching from LA. Love the show. Thank you, Ryan. Husker Bob says Nebraska 41, Colorado 24.
That one just speaks to me for some reason.
Also talking about the beer Hams, which is not great beer. I know, but it's not great.
Oh man, Cornhusker Corner, you're going to the Texas Bama game in Tuscaloosa.
That's brave. Wear something Nebraska. I don't think you need to be told that, but just wear something Nebraska. And then I'm wondering if this is SK. Is this Saskatchewan Canuck fan? I don't know. It says 35-10 for the Huskers. We appreciate our love from our neighbors.
He says watching from Saskatchewan.
So I didn't see that part first, John. All right. God, let's go ahead and we're almost an hour, almost 2 hours into this thing. John. Yes.
Before we do this, one announcement. I did spend some time today with Connor from Corn Craze going over our YouTube channel. Some of you have made complaints about the number of ads that have showed up in these live shows. And he and I looked at that issue and I realized now there are way too many ads in these live shows. So I'm going to start removing the ads that YouTube is putting in because they're putting in like 12 to 15 ads. And that's just shit ton. So that will be cleaned up going forward.
I do wonder if it's because our shows go longer and longer every week, it seems.
Yeah, they seem like they do.
This one's a record breaker for the 5 Heart. So with that all being said, John, let's get to your prediction for Saturday's game contest there in Boulder.
35-31 Nebraska with pick sixes by both teams. Just to make everybody poop themselves all around.
I'm writing these down. Hold on. Check. You know what? I want to show that. I'm very proud of this. Check this out. That is green. Somebody made that for me as a gift years ago. This is a little notepad. They know I'm a huge Green Lantern fan.
Oh, so I thought that was a Batman signal.
I hate you. You're the worst. Jon, 35-31, Nebraska. Okay, Hoss.
I'm going to say Nebraska runs for 220.
Oh, he's so specific now.
And we throw for 170. Nebraska 21-16.
Wow, that's a low score.
21-17?
21-16.
16, okay.
Wade Farr says, don't forget to press the like button on YouTube, please, so the YouTube algorithm likes us for having an almost 2-hour show, for God's sake.
Even if you don't like the show, even if you only want it to be like half as long, go ahead and press that like button.
I want to have my outrageous prediction like Jon has for both teams have pick sixes.
Okay.
Ramir Johnson, all 3 touchdowns.
Wow, okay.
I'm writing this all down. You know that, right?
I like Ramir Johnson.
I do too. He's a dude.
He's explosive.
All right. My turn, which is going to be the least impressive, but also not at all unexpected. I think that Nebraska actually does rush for over 250 yards in the game. I think Gabe Ervin Jr. is going to have over 150 of it. I believe that for the first time in a long time, maybe not a long time. I'm sure it happened more last year, but a running back will put up a memorable performance and have more rushing yards than the quarterback, because I've been saying it all season long. I definitely said it last Friday night when Hoss and I got together. I never want to see the quarterback be the team's leading rusher, at least be our team's leading rusher. So at least 150 on the ground by Gabe Ervin Jr. towards a cumulative team total of over 250 yards. Passing yards, I'm not going to get into the minutia of that, but I do think that we're going to see a touchdown reception from Borkacher.
Okay.
And I think the defense is going to put some pressure on shittier Sanders. Because, look, if you're not the best, then you're probably shittier. So I will say Nebraska is going to win this one. I'm going to go – got to do math in my head. I'm going to go 34-24.
Ooh, I like it.
So
okay,
I didn't put nearly as many notes down on mine, but that's because I'll forget it this entire show as soon as we're done recording. Anyway, Caleb says fullback trap for a touchdown. We wouldn't mind. Clay says any trick plays by Nebraska. Hopefully not.
Throwback screen to Ramir Johnson.
Justin says, Hoss, good luck Thursday with Kelsey. Wish Kelsey would be in the game. I'd rather we win with him playing the Lions. 35 KC 24. Oh, so he's a Lions fan. Okay.
I'm nervous about that one, man. I think that Detroit, I think they're actually going to upset Kansas City on Thursday night.
I like this MK prediction, 4-3 Nebraska. The national reaction would be, what the fuck we just watched? It would be glorious.
You like that 6-4 Penn State Iowa game in 2004.
All right. Well, this thing has we're going to
overstate our welcome.
We're going to old yeller this one. We're going to take this one out and put it down. We appreciate all of you. Look, not only is this on a different night, but boy, it's bedtime for most everybody watching and participating in this show. So we're going to leave you. We'll see you in you already know about all the post-game shows that are coming down the pipe. So be excited, be ready for Saturday. Kickoff is at 11, and then all the mayhem begins after that. What?
I'm sorry. I'm punch drunk at this point. I'm just exhausted. Wade Farr says if shittier Sanders gets hurt, will Dion use Aflac?
I want to say one thing real quick. Speaking of Dion, if Colorado does win and beat us, they beat us on Saturday. If he called out the 5 Heart podcast in the post game saying he's kept receipts on us, what would your reactions be?
I'd be tickled. You know why? Because that's going to be a lot more people Googling 5 Heart podcast.
I would think that he has a mental issue. That if he's diving this deep to find receipts, he's literally got some kind of obsessive compulsive problem.
Hey,
fixation.
Why not both?
Yeah.
Why can't he have a mental issue and help boost our numbers?
Well, he would, but you'd kind of go, wow, dude, I fear for you now.
Yeah. As Caleb says,
I love it. Yes.
We're not hard to find. YouTube, coronation.com, YouTube, Coronation on YouTube, Coronation on Twitter, also the number 5 Heart podcast on, X, Twitter, whatever the hell it is. All right. We got to go. We're all.
Yeah.
Oh, Blaine, my man. That might be a new tagline.
Don't do this to me, Blaine.
Blaine Cole says, and remember, 5 points of contact is all you need. Greg?
Go Big Red. I'm so out of sorts now.
Win the damn game.
No, we got to do this.
There you go. That's the outro.
John's next post-game reaction from inside Dion said, remember 5 toes is all you...
Oh my God.
All right. That is it. That's it. That's the end. The show has come to an end.
That's all, folks.
This is nope. That's John. Wait, shit. That's John Johnston. I'm way out of sorts. Shit. Hoss Reuter, Greg Mahochko. This is the 5 Heart podcast. We remind you that 5 Heart is all the heart you need. John,
we coming. Go Big Red.
Hoss.
Win the damn game.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.